Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Soul Search Exploring episode. We did the Anna Rethmelm story, which is the video Seven Died in a Homemade Sanitarium. And we really didn't get any evidence from that. I mean, some of those spirit box responses were, you know, I don't know. I think it was just radio interference. But who knows? They could have been. Go watch the video, check it out for yourself. But because I didn't have good responses, I didn't do an evidence video from the Anna Rethwell story. But what I did do is I took a trip to the Glore Psychiatric Museum, which is in St. Joseph's, Missouri. It's on the campus that used to be the Missouri State Lunatic Asylum #2. Now, what they've done is they've opened this, it's quite disturbing, but it's really cool museum that explores the psychiatric treatments through the years. And so I thought, I could do this video and we could see what Anna was up to in her homemade sanitarium treating these patients or tenants that she brought in. So let's start with a video. It's a little choppy. This campus is enormous, and what we're looking at here is the 1960s building, and this is where the Glore Psychiatric Museum is at. And as we go around, if you look to the right, you'll see how far the museum extends. Now, this building coming up is vacant. In 1997, they closed the hospital and they built a new facility across the street. They just didn't need the room. I mean, this place is just enormous. In the 1950s, they had over 3,000 patients here. And the patients could be from the most mildly depressed to some of the state's most criminally insane. And the way the campus is today is it's split. Because in 1999, a prison opened up, and that's where you'll find the old 1874 hospital and also the cemetery. And as we go here, if you see that fence there, that's the back of the prison. And unfortunately, we couldn't go explore either the old hospital or the cemetery. Now, this is a picture of the old 1874 hospital. This is what it looks like today on the prison campus. There's a picture of the prison, and if you look in the back there, you'll see the old hospital. Unbelievably, the reasons you could be admitted. I mean, you just had to be sick, poor, homeless. If you're a woman, barren. It's astonishing what could put you in an asylum. If you go visit the cemetery, what you'll see is this memorial, and it's okay to go up to this memorial. This hospital just totally neglected this cemetery. They didn't keep any records, and what is on the stones is just a number, and that was for privacy reasons unless the family gave permission. And in the 1960s, they actually ordered the stones knocked over and buried, so it'd be cheaper, easier mowing. And it suffered from vandalism. It has been restored today. Here's a stone that is from the cemetery. And the first burial in this cemetery was 1874, with the last burial in 1949. This is a replica of the morgue from the 1960s. They kept those coolers at 40 degrees, and that's the actual cooler that they did use. Now, there were a lot of deaths at this asylum. However, they kept really bad records on that as well. There were like 4,300 that were recorded, and the top causes were tuberculosis, exhaustion, and syphilis. But there are records of suicides by hanging, poisoning, patients setting themselves on fire, patients shooting themselves with a gun, patients jumping off the buildings and into wells. And there are even recorded murders. One guy fractured the skull of another with a spade handle. And you could accidentally die just by falling out of bed and strangling in your restraints. Now, this is the autopsy room. Those are some instruments they used in autopsies. These are just some chairs that I found interesting. I don't know what they were used for. Hydrotherapy, Anna Rethwell probably used this. I mean, they'd put you on there and submerge you either in ice cold water or hot water, all meant to keep you calm, obedient. These are wheelchairs, original wheelchairs. I just thought they were interesting. Now, this story in 1929, this woman ate all the stuff: pins, needles, bolts, screws, jewelry, buttons, and they performed surgery and removed 1,446 items. Unfortunately, she died. 1935, the first frontal lobotomy, and it's a procedure that severed the fibers connecting the frontal lobes to the rest of the brain. And by 1946, they had refined this procedure with something called the ice pick lobotomy. And what they would do is take this sharp needle instrument and go through your eye. And it was really popular because it was very inexpensive, and you didn't need a neurosurgeon. You didn't need an operating room. You needed no anesthetic. And there's some of the instruments they used on those ice pick lobotomies. Everything you needed to perform one, you could fit in this doctor's bag. And instead of anesthetic, what they used were ECT machines, electroconvulsive therapy. And what they would do is they'd get you in a seizure, and then they'd stick that ice pick through your eye. Now, these machines were also used for shock therapy, which was also popular. The intention was to cause memory loss to help cure your mental illness. And it replaced medications and insulin in comas they used to do. Problem is, it wasn't regulated. The doctor decided how much you got. Today they do it, but it's regulated, and it's on the severely depressed. Brain waves, they did have some science. I think some of these doctors were really trying to cure mental illness, and those are some of the machines. Wet blanket therapy, Anna Rothhelm probably did this. They would put an ice cold blanket wet on top of you and strap you to it for hours. Again, to make you calm, obedient, whatever you needed. Fever cabinets. This actually cured syphilis. There was like light bulbs in there, and they would heat you up to 105 degrees. And they used this method up until the 40s when they started using penicillin. Looks terribly uncomfortable. Restraints. Yeah, I'm sure Anna used that. They would, any kind of restraint. I mean, to chairs, beds, floors. Lots of restraints. Straight jackets. I'm sure Anna had that in her house of mystery. This was interesting. This is, they thought that any kind of infection caused mental illness, especially infected teeth. So it wasn't uncommon to remove all your teeth. And in fact, some doctors, any infected part, they would remove. Some of the instruments, those are chilling. This is an old door from the solitary confinement. And you were lucky if it had like a screen so you could have ventilation and heating. It's actually taken from the 1874 hospital. Pillory stocks. You stick you in there, and that would cure your mental illness. And then that's a door from the St. Louis City poorhouse. If you couldn't pay, then you'd find yourself locked behind that door. Restraint cage, kind of self-explanatory. Hope you're not claustrophobic. Oh, the hollow wheel. They would stick you in here, and the idea was you had to remain completely still. Otherwise, you'd find yourself running either forward or backward, and they'd stick you in there for days. It was meant to make you obedient. Another restraint cage. Oh, this is named after a hospital in New York. It's called the Utica cage. If you wouldn't stay in bed, this would become your bed. Oh, bath of surprise. They would stick you up there. You'd be up there on the top, and then they would release the trapdoor, and then you'd fall into ice cold water. The thought was it would shock you into reality. Burning someone at the stake was actually thought to cure mental illness. And so is this lunatic box. They'd slide that little door down and you'd be in complete darkness. And you would just have to stay in a standing position for days, even in your own excrement. A replica of a dungeon cell. Oh, this chair here, the tranquilizer chair, they would actually strap people to this for 6 months. Notice the bucket there? And they would put your feet in hot water and then ice packs on your head. They would also use this chair if they were going to perform treatments with leeches or any kind of bloodletting. Religion, always thought to cure mental illness. Oh, this came off the Missouri State Lunatic Asylum in St. Louis County when they tore down the wings. Now, the original building still stands. I think it's used for offices and storage, but the wings were torn down. Okay, so that's the end of the video. It's really chilling, really disturbing to think what may have been done and what was done to a lot of psychiatric patients over the years. And, it was done mostly to the poor, the mentally challenged. And people like Anna Rethholm, they got away with this sort of thing. So anyway, I hope you liked this video. And if you like these exploring episodes, please, I always forget to say this, please subscribe, like, comment. And we're working on overnight investigation actual episodes. Hopefully those will be coming out, a couple of them anyway, next month in March. Okay, thank you for watching. See you later. Bye.